Example 1 reads, the dance committee is selling tickets to the fall ball. The more tickets that they sell, the greater the amount of money they can spend for decorations. Identify the independent and dependent variables, then sketch a graph for the scenario. So the first thing we want to do is identify our two variables. So the more tickets that I sell, the greater the amount of money they can spend. So in this problem, we're talking about selling tickets and then being able to spend money for decorations. So we need to figure out what is the independent and what is the dependent. And once we do that, we can set up our graph. So whenever you're answering these questions, you need to figure out which one depends on the other. So do the amount of tickets that I sell depend on how much money I can spend on decorations? Or does the amount of money I spend on decorations depend on the number of tickets I sell? So which one of those sentences makes more sense? So my dependent, in my mind, it's always easier to think about which one depends on the other one first. So in my mind, how many tickets I sell has nothing to do with the money that I spend. It's flip-flopped. So my money spent is dependent on how many tickets I sell. Your dependent variable is always your Y value. Your independent variable is always your X value. So again, the money that I have to spend on decorations for the dance is completely dependent on how many tickets I sell. If I don't sell any tickets, then I don't have any money. However, if I sell 2 tickets, then I start gaining more money. So if we're talking about what this graph is going to look like, you are going to set up your X and your Y axis. Independent is always on the X. Dependent is always on the Y. So now that I figured out what those variables were, I'm going to put tickets on the X axis, and then I'm going to put money on the Y. And then I just have to think about a pattern here that's going to happen. So in this situation, the more tickets I sell, the more money I'm going to make. So if I think about that, I'm going to consistently sell more tickets, and then my money is going to increase at the same time. So I'm going to have a straight line graph here. Okay. You may want to think about, is there going to be a section in this graph that might look like the depth in the ocean where it flattens out? Is there not? Is there ever going to be a situation where you're going to be decreasing? Or is this kind of the only way that this graph's going to look? Take a minute to try and think about that answer.